Hello everyone, welcome to our Meet the Coaches series. Today I'm going to be joined by the U15 CMUL head coach 2021, Francie Matthews. Francie is going to be assisted with the team by Kieran Kenny. Francie, how's it going?
Not too bad, Dean. How are you?
Not too bad. Francie, well look, I'm going to kind of dive straight in and just to kind of educate people that maybe don't know much about you, could you maybe tell us a little bit about yourself, your coaching background, maybe if you had any playing background as well, and just let people know a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, no problem, Dean. Look, I played football when I was younger with Carrick Rovers in Carrick Cross. That was my club. Probably gave it up too early. Went away from the sport. Always had a passion for it. And like probably a lot of typical grassroots coaches as such, I got back involved with my young eldest lad. Started playing football. Started the usual thing, standing watching the other boys coach the team. Then started picking the cones up after training. Then within a short time, all of a sudden you're putting the cones down instead of picking them up. And that's the way it was. Got involved with Carrick Rovers, myself and Art knew. Dina Art from Carrick Rovers, a legend at Carrick Rovers. Seven Art had a team at that age group. We played in the NEC at the time and had them through up to I think under 16s in the NEC. Carrick played underage football in the NEC at the time, and John Crudden actually approached me then to get involved with the emerging talent in Cavan, which was great for me because I had no connection with Cavan at the time, and it was under 17 team. Got involved, all kids I didn't know, which was great. You had no connections with them, in that way. Had that. We went to the Fire Cup. Dad came with us and we got him to sing after. We happened to win the trophy that year. It was 2013 in the Fire Cup. And in the background of that, I was working to, John Delaney had been on to the club about why we weren't supporting our local league, as in the Cavan League. So I did a bit of work in the background. I think Dad was the chairman at the time, and we moved our juvenile section into the Cavan underage league shortly after. I got involved with the committee. I got involved with the CMUL ETP then at different levels as well. Coach kids at the Kendi Cups, Foyle Cups, Galway Cups, usual thing. And through time then from my troubles, I became the chairman of the league for a couple of years then as well. But I was part of when the initial inaugural under 17 National League was being touted. Tom Mohan, who Dean and a lot of you know, got in touch with the Schoolboys League at the time about applying for the under 17 license. So myself and to cut a long story short, ourselves and Monaghan United formed a partnership, the Monaghan United Football Partnership. We entered the league at under 17s initially, and then within 2 years we had 15s, 17s, and 19s. Very successful. It gave kids in the area an opportunity to play at National League level, to compete at that level. Look, it wasn't about results. We were always going to be in trouble with that. It was about giving kids in the Cavan area and the Northeast area an opportunity to play at that level. That was involved with that for a couple of years on the committee end of it more so, but my passion would have been coaching as such. Was always been involved with my own club, always involved with the CMUL ETP at different levels. So 2 years ago, I put my hand up myself and Kieran to look after the under 13 National League side. It was the first year, the inaugural year for the under 13s, and had a very successful year. Good bunch of lads. We were after winning the interleagues, Liam Miller Cup, a couple of months after, and run into the league. So great year. Boys enjoyed it. Put us on the map to an extent. Got kids at that underage level involved coaching. So I know that you're going to ask you then. I was involved in that, and look, I stepped away, got an opportunity to move to Dundalk then last season. So I was over in Dundalk last season. So that's basically my coaching background. I've done the UEFA B, did the usual thing with the Kickstart 1s, Kickstart 2s, and youth starts all that way. Did the UEFA B, applied for the current UEFA A there, but just at the moment it just didn't seem me to do it. So looking to progress up the ladder, keep progressing and such, get earning the knowledge.
Brilliant. Yeah, it's great to hear kind of your background in coaching, Francie, where your background or your kind of coaching pathway is very similar to how the CMUL once the player pathway to go, you know, through the local underage league into the emerging talent program, and then progress hopefully into the national league. And you just touched upon there that the last season you were involved in Dundalk, and probably with the coronavirus, it probably wasn't the best time to get involved. But you know, Dundalk is obviously they're the benchmark for Irish football over the last maybe 7-8 years, and there's a little bit of bias with me saying that as a Dundalk fan. But could you maybe talk about how that experience was, because you were working with, I know Mick Neville at the time was running the academy side of the club. Mick, who ran the academy in Shelbourne for years, he's honestly, Mick, I grew up kind of learning under Mick's radar as well. He's one of the best fellas that I've ever met. I was just wondering if you could maybe kind of chat a little bit about that experience, being at a club that's at that level.
Yeah, well, my background was probably same as yours. I'm a Dundalk fan too. I used to, when I was a young fella, I was putting the car on a Sunday afternoon and taking over to Oriel Park with a packet of crisps and a bottle of Cavan Cola, sitting watching big Tommy McConville and Richie Blackmore and all these boys, and watching. I grew up with that. So when the opportunity came up, as I said, I was after coming on the back of a good year with the under-13s in Cavan Monaghan. Was a bit of disillusion, I'll be honest with you, at the time with things that were happening in Cavan and Monaghan. The partnership split up. So I myself and Mick got back a long way too. I'd known Mick from being the DO for Loud, and got to know Mick through different things. You meet people, and it just happened to be talking to Mick, and Mick offered me the opportunity to go over Dundalk. Look, as you said, at the moment, Dundalk are the benchmark between themselves and Shamrock Rovers, probably the two biggest clubs in the League of Ireland at the moment. I knew Mick, I knew Martin Conley, as you'd know as well. I knew a few of the coaches, Liam Bournes, Tim Ravenna. It's 20 minutes over the road from me, Dean, as well. Look at the structures there, Oriel Park, as I said, the all-weather pitch, floodlights. The opportunity, and I did have to think long and hard about it, to be honest. I had to think my heart was still in Cavan Monaghan as such to make the move over. I knew it was going to be, hard enough decision to make. But look, it was too good of an opportunity to go over. Unfortunately, as you said, coronavirus kind of threw a curveball into everything. You got the boys kind of going and you were prepared. Then the league would go down through restrictions and lockdowns. You were back up again. Now, having said that, we were lucky. We were probably training away while a lot of other team, Schoolboys League teams and ETPs weren't. So we were, but it was a frustrating time. Look, good opportunity. It's like everything, especially in coaching and such. You pick up something, good things, bad things. You see something from a different perspective. As I said, League of Ireland, Dundalk, well established, one of the strong holds in League of Ireland football, always have been. It was an opportunity I just couldn't make, as I said. And I said, look, logistically, it was over the road. And things like there's been restructuring in Dundalk in the academy. Stephen McDonald's taken over, and I know Stephen, actually, Stephen well. I did some coaching badges with Stephen and kept in touch with him. He offered me the opportunity to stay on, but look, between one thing and another, the opportunity to go back to Cavan Monaghan, and that's where my heart was. So that's why I took the opportunity to go back there.
Yeah, no, well, I'm sure Dundalk's loss is CMUL's game. Well, we'll see at the end of the season. We'll judge it then. But no. But no, that's great. As you say, it's always good to get into a different environment and see what works for them, what doesn't work, and it'll make you a better coach, kind of going back now to the CMUL and going in and helping out there. But just moving on, and I'm conscious I don't want to take up too much of your time, Francie. Coaching wise, who would be coaches you look up to? Like, whether it's coaches you've worked with or whether it's coaches you've kind of grew up watching, or coaches that you see on TV today, who would be coaches that kind of you look up to and base your own kind of coaching philosophy around? So I'll let you take it away from there.
Look, when I seen your question, and the thing is that as a coach, you try to set yourself as being a role model as such. And like when I was a young fella, naturally enough, around Carrick, there was soccer was in a minority. Gaelic was, as you know, from this particular part of the country. I know it's the same probably everywhere, but Gaelic football would have been the main predominant sport. To play soccer was, you were especially those days, you were kind of. But coaches that like the late Peter McGinney around Carrick would have been a role model for me. Would have been my coach when I was growing up. Frank Rooney was another legend of Carrick Rovers, as such, was in the senior team when I played senior football. And these are people you meet in the street now, and they were role models to you. You know what I mean? It's only when you grow older and you get back into your coaching, you look at these people. Probably then when I got back into coaching in Carrick Rovers and in the area, as I mentioned, Arctic New, the likes of Arctic New was always a wise old head and an old saying, and you know what I mean, always had a proverb or something or a scenario you tell you about. You'd always learn off him. Nice and calm thing, probably in the areas, you know. The late Sean McCaffrey was a big influence. Short time I spent with Sean when we got into National League football initially was 17. Like, you know, unfortunately Sean passed away too young, far too young, and just being around Sean and the influence Sean would have had on people, and you know what I mean, and the way he bring kids on, and kids respected him and played for him, and you know, understood his knowledge of the team, and then not enough following on from there, the likes of Tom Moen, like you know Tom as well as I do, that Tom was never only a phone call away. If you ever needed a bit of advice or a bit of a hand with something, or you had a problem, Tom was only a phone call away. Bigger than that, like Stephen Kenny, as you said, like I was a Dundalk fan, still am a Dundalk fan. Unfortunately, we can't go into Oriel Park at the moment to watch him. But like, you know, for what Stephen Kenny did over that period from Dundalk to me, he's revolutionised League of Ireland football, the style of football Dundalk play, and other teams have taken that on board. And League of Ireland, to me, in general, has at all levels, Dean. The one thing I've seen a bit last year, I know lockdown was it, but I would have watched an awful lot of football last year, Dean, from 19s, 17s, 15s, 13s. We were getting into Oriel Park. The standards in League of Ireland football have gone up, you know, right along coaching facilities, just the play itself, you know what I mean? You know, it's got better, and I think Stephen Kenny would have an awful lot of influence on that, you know. Probably internationally, and it probably killed me to say because I'm a United fan. I'd be a big Jurgen Klopp. I love the whole hard working, pressing high, the whole philosophy of Klopp's, you know what I mean? I know he's a Liverpool fan. It's a pity we didn't get him at United, but I'd be a big believer in that. Like, you know, I believe in working hard, you know, giving 100%. And look, if at the end of the day, if the other team were better than you, better prepared than you, and thing, you just put your hand up and say, look, they were better than us. But Klopp would be one, you know, would be a big one I'd look into, you know.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that, and I think that's something that all coaches should kind of look at, is making sure if your team works as hard as they can, you can't fault them if you don't win a game, you know. So at least if you work hard, if you work harder than the opposition, you give yourself a chance. And everything you said there about the coaches kind of leads into the next question, which is with regards to the under-15s at CMUL, what would be your goals for the season with that squad?
Well, look, we're small areas, you know, predominantly other sports are probably the thing, like, to offer National League football in Cavan. And I say it's not just like, I know I was part of the initial thing to get it, Dean, and it is there for Cavan, but as we've often said, everyone on it, like if some kid from outside the area is quite prepared to play National League football and wants to play with Cavan and Monaghan, so it's an opportunity. You're in the same shop window as every other club in League of Ireland, Dundalk, Cork Cities, Shamrock Rovers, all this. So the aim is this year is to compete. I've always said it, just compete. To go out and that the teams don't come to you and think that, look, it's 3 points in the bag before we kick a ball here, you know, and put Cavan Monaghan in the mouth, that the teams know that exactly what we talk about, what we expect from players, that they'll go out and give 100%. And they might not compete, and just establish it and give the option, Dean. It's another option that, I say, predominantly Cavan and Monaghan would be big Gaelic counties, that there's National League, the highest level of football. You can play it on your own doorstep here. You can go to the Brandywell, you can go over to Oriel Park, you can go over to the showgrounds in Sligo and play against these teams, and it's an opportunity, you know what I mean? So the aim for this season, well, basically to get back onto the pitch would be the first one. Try if we can get over that hurdle first of all. But look, just to compete, Dean, like just to compete and give kids opportunities. You know what I mean? Like I know, look, that under 13 team I had 2 years ago, I contacted some of them and some of that, and look, at the gone into Oriel Park, and the best of luck to them. Like, you know what I mean? They're playing soccer, they're playing in a well-established club. Hopefully, you keep track of them. They end up playing senior football in League of Ireland. Hopefully, some of them go across the water. But to be able to come back and say, well, they started with Cavan Monaghan, that's the idea, just to provide football in the area, you know, and compete.
Yeah, that's it. That's it exactly. You know, I think as you say, you kind of hit the nail on the head. It's putting players locally in the shop window where they haven't had that opportunity until maybe the partnership started back. What was it, 7, 8 years ago? Now they have the opportunity, and it's great to see. I mean, my only wish is I would have been home whenever this was all kind of kicking off to be able to help it. But you know, for players, I think it's a fantastic opportunity, as you say, to go to these places. And League of Ireland's aren't like clubs over in England where you go to the training ground to play games. As you say, you're playing in the Brandywell, you're playing in Oriel Park. Even if there's nobody there, you're getting that feel of what it could be like, which is fantastic for all the players. And you just kind of touched upon that you've spoken to some players that have moved on elsewhere. So, how obviously with COVID, how has recruiting gone for your team this year?
Difficult. You know what I mean? The sport we're involved with, or any sport in a sense, you know yourself. You assess kids by watching them on the pitch. You assess them by, you know, the touch on the ball and all that. That's hard to do on a, over a laptop. I look at. I was late coming to the thing that the CMUL had already sent out a expression of interest over the internet, and kids had got involved in something like that. So I knew some of them when I got involved, you know, on the Zooms. You knew, recognize some of the faces. I made a few phone calls, and that, you know, if I have an awful lot of contacts in the northeast area, such, you know what I mean, not just the Cavan League, but Dundalk Schoolboys League, Drogheda, the NEC. A couple of kids were recommended to us as well. But look, at the moment, Dean, we're doing Zoom sessions with them. We're doing strength and condition sessions. Ian McGlone's doing that. That'd be his expertise. All we can ask at the moment is the boys tune in 2 nights a week. It shows me they're committed, that they're hungry for it. You know, they want to play at this level. If they're good enough, that'll the proof will be in the pudding when we get onto the pitch actually and assess them then. But at the moment, that's all you can ask them to tune in. We've sent them out programs. We sent them out SWOT analysis tasks. We sent them out, you know, to assess themselves, what their goals are, goal setting things for the year. And it just look at all these things, as you know, modern day football, those are very important tools to have. It shows us that these kids, you know, can recognize what they're good at, recognize what they're poor at. And then for me to have that as a coach, that I can look that up before we go into the pitch and say, you know, a month into it, Dean Arrowsmith's operating his left foot. We need to work on his left foot, but I can see that he recognizes that. He's written that down. He understands that. He knows, you know what I mean? And that's a big thing, like, you know, personally, from all years I've been coaching, Dean, like kids, all I've ever asked them is to be honest with us, have a good attitude, you know what I mean, be willing to learn, you know what I mean. All kids have different abilities. We all love to be Lionel Messi, but that's not possible. But all you ask them is to have a good attitude, and you know, and it's hard to see that over a Zoom meeting. But as I said, the fact that they're tuning in, to me, it's good. Not ideal. Hopefully the restrictions lift shortly at some stage, and we can get them onto a pitch and then get down to the proper work of actually seeing them on the ball and working on them, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, hopefully, it'll be sooner rather than later. You manage to get on the pitch with them. But Francie, this has been brilliant. Thanks very much for taking the time out. I'll leave the kind of floor open to you if you have any kind of parting comments you want to make to anyone maybe that's watching.
No, look, thanks for the opportunity. As I said, I was part of the initial one to get National League into the area, Dean. I know Dad was there too, Tom Moe and all these people. You know what I mean? It's great that it's still there. It's still growing. We're still trying to sell it to an extent, you know what I mean? But exactly what you said, Dean. Like, if I was 12, 14 years of age again and someone said to me I could play the highest level of soccer in the country on my own doorstep, like you take the hand off to them, you know what I mean? And we're lucky. Like most kids in the Cavan area, I know it's very hard to generalize them, but they're honest enough. Like, you know, and they understand that they've been given an opportunity to play at this level. You know what I mean? And it's like everything. If you treat them well, hopefully they'll respect that. As I said, all we're trying to be is role models and give kids opportunities. It's just one I was saying, probably relevant is when you asked the question about what I look in for players. I remember young Oisin McAtee at the moment. He's after being picked for the Republic of Ireland under 21. Like I had Oisin, I know he was with Dad with Cahill as well before that, and I remember Tom talking to me after when Oisin moved on and he got us moved to Newcastle and got called up for Republic of Ireland underage. And Tom said to me, he says, was he the best kid you ever coached technically, Francie? And I says, No, but he was probably the most honest and good attitude. You know what I mean? And it just shows you, Dean, that when you have that, you go a long way. You can go a long way in this sport. You know what I mean? That and don't get me wrong, there's a certain element of luck in it too. You know, if things fall into place. But I'm a big believer in being honest, giving 100%, good attitude, and willing to learn. You know what I mean? And that's all you can ask.
Yeah, no, that's great. That kind of ties in Tom Owen very well. I know one of Tom's favorite quotes was "honesty of effort," which is something that he loves. So we'll finish on that note, Francie. Thanks very much. I just want to wish you and the lads involved with the under-15s the very best luck for the season ahead.
Thanks, Dean, and best of luck in Chicago. Keep in touch with us. All right.
Cheers. Thanks, Francie.
Thanks, Dean.